One thing you should know about percentages on the PSAT and SAT is it's a very common way to trick you. Our human brains are just not very good about thinking about percentages. So we need ways to really just make sure we're organized. I have an entire lesson on my channel about the open formulas. Okay, we're going to use one of them here. But the reason I call them the open formulas is one of them just looks like the word open. O times P equals N, right? The O is the original value, the P is the percent, and E equals, and the N is the new value. But here they're talking about percent increase. And so we need a different formula. And again, that's in my lesson about it. But it's basically going to require an extra piece where we have 1 plus or minus the percentage. So it's really important to just get these formulas down. I don't think percentages are taught well in school. We're not really taught a formula. We're taught a process, and that process usually involves multiplication. But a lot of times in the SAT and PSAT, we end up doing division instead, and they just give us information that we're not used to getting, and we can't do the normal multiplication that we learn in school. So the formula takes care of all of that, because now we're just plugging points into equations, and we're going to solve. So the number of coins in a collection increased from 9 to 90. So 9 is the O, the original. 90 is the new, the N. What was the percent increase? Well, we know then we're solving for the P, so let's leave that as a decimal, or as a letter. And then it says percent increase, so 1 plus, right? So the good thing about this formula is very literal. If they're talking about an increase in the question, you're going to use 1 plus in the formula. Now we just solve. So what I would do here is I divide by 9. Let's change colors to do that. So let's divide by 9. We get 1 plus P is equal to 10. And then we subtract 1, and we get P is 9. Now that's not an answer, and good, because that's not really what we found. The thing with the open formulas is that the P always represents the percentage as a decimal. And there's lots of reasons that I did this when I made this formula up, is I wanted it to be consistent. And a lot of other places in the SAT and PSAT where we think about percentages, we're thinking about them as decimals. So it's much better to do that. That just means that in order to convert it into a percentage, we have to move that decimal point 2 spots, meaning now it's going to go from being 9 to 900, right? We multiply by 100, so 900%. So it was 9.00, that represents 900%. Now we have to actually write it as a percentage because that's what the question wants, so D is our answer here. As far as percentage questions go, this isn't that bad. But I can already see the start of that kind of trickiness to them in this. And a lot of people are going to get it wrong because they're just going to find that 9 is 10% of 90. And that's going to mess with them in all sorts of ways. So you got to be careful. This percent increase and decrease especially is where our brain starts to break down. So watch my lesson on the open formulas, and I think you'll get much, much better at dealing with percentages in the specifically in the way that the PSAT and SAT ask about them.